Hey, Bernadette McClelland from 3 Red Folders, and welcome to this week's Friday wrap-up for sales leaders. So today's session is based around sales training and prompted by a post that I wrote earlier in the week. And once again, there was a fair bit of discussion, which was great. And so I want to look at 3 aspects of sales training today. One is whose responsibility is it? And number 2 is what is the best way to do it. And number 3 is how do you measure the effectiveness of it? So first and foremost is whose responsibility is it? And I know, and you know, that we've both heard different sides of the coin. You know, salesperson says, I'm not going to be putting my hand in my own pocket. If my business doesn't think I'm worthy of paying, then they can go take a walk. Secondly is sales managers, where you've heard them say, I think it's the responsibility of the salesperson. If they're a professional, then they should be putting their hand in their own pocket. Then you also have going up the line where you may have a sales leader that says, you know what, I've got the budget, but HR are putting the blocks on things. Or it could simply be, I don't have the budget. Now, who's right, who's wrong, doesn't really matter. I think what's important is that there's a conversation that's had around it. You know, we just need to look at professional sports teams, elite musicians, for example. I mean, they don't just do a one-off training and then that's it. They invest in ongoing training and development. And I think salespeople and businesses need to look at it through that lens as well. So if you're a sales manager and you've got the budget, but, you know, somebody's putting the brakes on up above, then what are you doing to really sell the value of that training internally? Like, what are you doing that you expect your salespeople to do out in the field? And that is overcome objections out there and sell the value of what they're selling out there. So sales leaders, sales managers, you know, I would pause and I would think, well, okay, how much value are you putting on it and how are you selling it internally? Also, you don't have the budget. So, you know, sometimes that's just like our clients or prospects, they don't have the money. Is that true? And so if you're saying that you don't have the budget for sales training, that may be true, absolutely true. And I would ask, well, okay, if you didn't have that as a reason or an excuse, how would you make some form of sales development happen for your people? Because you don't have to bring in an external trainer. I mean, as a leader, part of your responsibility is to teach, it's to manage, and it's to coach your people. That's what a good leader does, a good sales leader does. So what is it that you're doing to facilitate learning and development within your team that's not costing you anything? Could it be that you grab a book and as a team, you discuss a different aspect of that book each week? Could it be that you pass the reins across to one of your team members and get them to do some of the heavy lifting and get them to step out of their comfort zone and have turnabout coaching or teaching or training their colleagues? So there's always a way. There's always something that we can learn and something that we can do to develop ourselves and our people. The second part of it is what is the best, I guess, method of training. And, you know, I use the analogy of a one-off training being like running a warm bath that goes cold pretty quickly. And it does. Statistics tell us that, you know, a one-off training, the retention rate rapidly declines over, you know, just a few weeks. However, I'm also a firm believer in that there is always something that we can learn. And even if it is a one-off training, even if it is just like a 2-hour session with somebody, there's something that can be learned. And as a team or as a sales manager, what can you do with your team to kind of sit around the campfire, chew the fat over a couple of ahas or golden nuggets or little zingers that came out of that small one-off training? Post it around the walls, you know, have it part of your lingo in your office so that you're creating this environment of ongoing learning. But I think we all know that the most effective form of learning and development is implementation, ongoing implementation and execution. And in order for that to happen, there needs to be this ongoing coaching. There needs to be a mixture of coaching and teaching and role play and all of this type of adult learning where we're using all our senses. And we begin to embed the learning so that it becomes part of our behavior and part of our psyche. And that takes commitment, but it also takes a leader that has a belief system and a growth mindset. A belief system that says continuous and never-ending improvement, Kaizen, call it whatever you want, is critical to my team becoming high performance. And what is the return on that? Because there always will be a return, which leads me to my third point, is how do you measure the success of an external sales trainer, coach coming in to your business? And it's interesting because, we all see the big headlines, 500% increase when they started working for me and whatever it may be. Yeah, sure. A tender may have landed on their desk that they were working on before they even met you. So, there's, I'm being a bit tongue in cheek here, but how do you measure the success of some form of a training program? Because there's so many variables in sales. And I would suggest that the leader is able to notice, see, hear, feel the difference in the behavior of their salespeople. So it may not necessarily be this, what of revenue just dropped as a result of training. It could be little things. It could be that somebody's confidence increases so much that they're able to articulate their message in a really defined way. It could be that somebody starts asking questions that prior, really tapped in or really was impacted by their limiting beliefs. It could be that somebody builds a relationship with a potential net new client, but you don't see the results of that for a couple of years. So it's a real grey area, and I believe that the number one shift that you should be able to see as a result of any form of sales development is at the identity level, because your salespeople, they know what they've got to do, they know how to do it, they know why they've got to do it, but why aren't they doing it? And so I'd like to leave you with those 3 points, encourage you to have a conversation with your leader or with your sales team or with your peers around the value and the effectiveness of sales, training, coaching, development to help you increase your revenue, build a stronger culture, and just really enjoy doing what you're doing. And so in the next few weeks, you'll probably see something come through. I'm going to be running a webinar on the Courageous Sales Leader. And it's 3 ways to build a team of leaders, not just sellers, because we need more leaders out there, and your clients want to start speaking with leaders and not just sellers. So on that note, have an amazing weekend, and we'll see you the same time next week. Bye for now.